Boom! It's the one and only Michael Venom Page, MVP. I'm gonna be doing some predictions. So we got UFC 314 coming up in Miami, and what an exciting card. In terms of the names on papers, the fights are looking juicy. All right, so we're gonna go for the first fight. Nikita Krylov and Dominic Reyes. Dominic Reyes, such a weird career, because after his fight, arguably many thought that he won against John Jones. And again, John Jones is the greatest of all time. What a statement that was for him to have made. Even though he didn't win the fight, like I said, a lot of people thought he won the fight. But since then, it's like that fight just took everything out of him. He has been very, very inconsistent since then. Still hanging in there, but obviously, not getting the results that he would want. And Krylov's no pushover. I say relatively even fight, depending on what Reyes shows up. If it's the Reyes of recent, I think he loses that fight. Even after losing that fight, people was excited that, for his career, and he just hasn't lived up to it. We move. Okay, this one I'm actually excited about. Silva is just an exciting guy to watch. He's entertaining. He likes to put on a show. He's very smiley, like similar to myself. He likes to smile and have fun. But boy, has he got crazy knockout power. So literally, I believe he's 4 in the UFC and he's knocked out all 4 people in spectacular fashion with a smile on his face. So very exciting. And again, he's coming up against the very controversial Bryce Mitchell. Controversial because he kind of says whatever the hell he wants to say. The one thing I appreciate about the UFC in terms of Bryce Mitchell is Dana White will always have his own personal opinion on what fighters may say, but he's like, fighters are allowed to have their opinion. So it just feels like a space. This is how it should be, in my opinion. Regardless, right or wrong, we should be able to have these discussions no matter what side you fall on, and we should be allowed to state our opinions. I don't necessarily side with Bryce Mitchell at all. The fact that he has those opinions and he says it with chest, then I think he should be allowed to express himself, and there should be a platform that allows him to express himself, and UFC is that platform. But going back to the fighting, he's a bit more of a submission game. He's got, I think, 1 knockout, or TKO, should I say. But he's also been knocked out before, and he does sometimes get in the mix of it. I think this one goes to Jan. I think he'll be strong enough to defend some of the takedowns and more dangerous throughout the fight. And I'd even go to say I think second round he gets a knockout after he's kind of figured out what Bryce is trying to go for. Then he can kind of get his timing right and get a knockout. So yeah, what great fight. Okay, this one again, another fight I'm excited for because it's a fellow Bellator employee that has now stepped over. One of very few that has now stepped over in recent times. You got your Michael Chandlers, myself, and now Patricio Pitbull, who was a absolute dominant force in Bellator. He was, I think, a double champion at one point. I might be wrong. Don't correct me on that one. Just do some research for yourself. But just a beast. Him and his brother are both good, but he definitely was the better out of the two and the more successful. And now seeing him come over to UFC is very, very exciting. I actually didn't even hear an announcement. So it's only when I was going through the card about a month or so back that I was like, oh, Pitbull's there. I was like, what? I didn't realize he was even in the UFC. I don't know why they do that. I guess they just don't want to put any attention on the Bellator side, so they don't really make a big fuss about the actual transfer over. It's just like, yeah, he's here now. If you even remember how Dana White introduced me, it was very much, there was no real introduction. It was kind of like, just announce the card as casually as if I've already been in the UFC. And he's like, yeah, MVP is gonna be fighting Kevin Holland, and this person's gonna be fighting this person. Everyone's like, wait, what? You're not gonna make a point about that. It's still exciting that Pitbull's here, because I wanna see, he has been out of the cage for a little while just because of the dilemmas of Bellator and the crossover with PFL, and just, I guess they did, I'm sure contractually they wasn't able to kind of fit him in for whatever reason, so I'm sure he's excited to be back, and I'm excited to see him in the cage. He's fighting Rodriguez, which weird enough, he was having some issues with Diego Lopez the other day. I don't know what that's about, but he's, again, another person for me that's a bit more inconsistent, a bit more up and down in terms of his result. A good couple of fights. Who was it with again? That oh yeah, Ortega. He had a good like back and forth. Like he recently lost via submission, but he had knocked him out prior to that, like a few fights before that. But again, he lost to Volkanovski, which again is not it's not one to feel upset about. Volkanovski is a GOAT, is a exceptionally high level. Lost to Max Holloway before, but again, exceptionally high level. So if I had to put my money somewhere, I'm gonna go with a more consistent fighter. Although he hasn't done in the UFC, I'm just gonna go with just the talent that I've seen from Pitbull. He's hard to submit. He can submit. He's got a crazy guillotine. Can take you down and can knock you out. So I'm going for Pitbull on that one. And so yeah, that's exciting. And again, I go from one fight to the next and it continues to be exciting. Michael Chandler, just as I was just speaking about, another Bellator guy coming over. They should have put me on this one. We should have all three of the guys on there, man. But yeah, Michael Chandler coming over from Bellator. Michael Chandler frustrates me because I feel if you was looking at stats of a fighter and just their attributes, I feel like all of his bars are up. Like there's nothing that is really lagging, really. Maybe fight intelligence. And I only say fight intelligence because he can wrestle at a high level, he can grapple at a high level, he can strike at a high level. He can do all these things, but he seems to just, there's no game plan, there's no strategy. So I think that kind of IQ, maybe it's the team as well. I personally think, because he's come over, he's had 6 fights now, and he's only won 2, but he nearly won the belt. So he got a crazy knockout at the beginning against Dan Hooker to start, just to kind of just say, look, I'm here, I've arrived. Then got the title shot like next, which was crazy, but then lost, nearly won, had knocked down my, what's his name, Oliveira. Then again, for me, it's just stupid decision making, like jumping into his guard instead of letting him back up and trying to just knock him down again or just finish the fight that way. Or like jumping into a guy that's super high level jiu-jitsu, wasting the extra time and then coming back and getting knocked out in the next round. Giving him that kind of minute or like say minute and a half on the ground there and then an extra minute in his corner with his team to kind of recalibrate. And then again, since then, he's only won one other fight. So against Ferguson, which was an exceptional knockout. But again, just after that, just been losing. But although every single fight is exceptional, every single fight is explosive, every single fight is entertaining, my thing is he's not getting the results. And I feel like he's not getting the results because he seems a bit chinny at the moment and he likes to just fight. And I feel like the reason why I find it frustrating is because I feel like if he was a little bit more structured in his game plan per individual, per person that he's fighting, like I'm catering this style towards you, I'm catering this style towards you, I think he would win the fights because he's being a bit more game plan. Right now, it feels like he's just like, I just want to be entertaining. I'm just going to have some crazy fights, like when he had Oliveira on his back and he's doing this wrestling, lifting him up and jumping. It is entertaining, but you're not winning fights. And it's important for you to win those fights. It's more important for you to win those fights. And I definitely feel like out of anybody, he was the one that could have come across from Bellator with the belt or having won a belt in the Bellator and then come across to the UFC and then won a belt as well. I think it's looking further and further away from him now because he's just wily. I just want to fight, you know what I mean? And I'm not going to cater to the individuals. But he's fighting Paddy Pimblett, who is a great character for the UFC, especially a great character for Europe, the UK. Very tricky on the floor. I say a bit scrappier standing, but sometimes that messiness can kind of cause confusion, and that's where, you know, you end up ducking or doing something crazy and he grabs your neck or he takes your back and all those kind of things. Because I think Paddy thrives in the chaotic spaces and he seems to pull out wins within that mess. And Chandler likes to go into those messy scenarios and be a bit scrambly and like all over the place. Because like I said, he's not game planning. He's scrappy, but then he comes out it doesn't come out on top. He seems to lose in those spaces. I feel like that chaotic space, because both of them like to be in that chaotic space, is gonna happen again. It's gonna be very scrambly, very back and forth, but the person that will come out on top will be Paddy, whether it be via submission. Again, Chandler's a very hard person to submit. The only person I believe was Oliveira. Yeah, if I'm correct, again, don't quote me on that one, but he doesn't get submitted easy, and he's had many fights, so he's a hard person to submit. But Paddy's got that, he's just crazy jits. Like his jits are just awkward jits. So I feel like Paddy could either get the submission later in the fight after a crazy back and forth, or even knock him out, because again, later in the fights, Chandler gets messy, his chin seems to be going. Anytime he gets caught, he ends up on rocky legs and then starts making more and more mistakes. I would suggest Paddy for a submission. And then we go to the main event of the evening. Alexander Volkanovski, you know, coming back again after having a bit inconsistencies in his last few fights, but again, fighting at the top level with regards to Topuria and Makhachev. And yeah, I think he just came back a bit too quick after a couple of fights. Topuria is just a bit of a beast. Again, I guess they kind of crossed paths at the right time for Topuria. But Diego Lopez, for me, a bit more of a winnable fight, depending on what Diego Lopez we see. But at the same time, he's on the killing spree. He's on the run. He's got all the momentum on his side. And Volkanovski maybe on a decline. I don't know what it is about. There is something, and it may just be a mental thing, but again, correct me if I'm wrong, if you guys have noticed this. A lot of champions, once they lose the title, it's so difficult to get themselves back to the belt. So they get the belt, the second they lost the belt, they seem to just slowly go on a decline. And you can see that they're really pushing to fight to get back there. But I don't know what it is, it's just hard for people to kind of mentally maybe get back to where they was. And for that reason, in terms of history of how things have worked out, past few fights, current run, I'm gonna go with Diego Lopez on this one. As much as it hurts me, because I'm a big fan of Volkanovski and would love to see him bounce back and, you know, maybe raise that title one more time. But I'd have to go for Diego Lopez on current run and, like I say, just history of things. So that is my picks for Miami UFC 314. Let me know what you guys think. Comment down below if you disagree with me, agree with me, whatever it is. Click the notification bell for up and coming videos that's gonna be coming, because I'm gonna be doing a reaction to all of these fights as well. And lastly, subscribe, you know, follow your boy, support your guy. There'll be more videos to come. See you guys next time.